He survived war overseas, but at home, his greatest battle was just beginning. Family, before we even begin this heartbreaking story, I need you to stop what you're doing right now and hit that subscribe button. Because stories like these, stories of struggle, injustice, and survival, are silenced every day. And if we don't tell them, who will? If you believe in truth, if you stand with the unheard, then join us. Subscribe to the Untold Struggles, and let's walk through this storm together. It was early Saturday morning. The sun hadn't fully risen, but its golden glow brushed the tops of buildings in Brookhaven, a city that prided itself on progress while quietly carrying old scars. Darius Johnson, a 38-year-old Army veteran, stood on his porch sipping coffee from a chipped mug. His back ached slightly from years of service, but the air felt calm, healing. He had served his country overseas, given blood, sweat, and time to protect freedoms. And now, finally, he won a peace. In one hand, his mug, in the other, his cane. A limp from a roadside injury still followed him, but he carried it with dignity. His plan was simple: visit the grocery store, pick up food for the week, maybe treat his niece Maya with her favorite cereal. But across the street, someone else was watching. A man in a pressed shirt leaned on his SUV, whispering into his phone. "Yes, officer. I see a suspicious man. Black male. Tall. Limping. Looks aggressive. He's casing houses. I think he has a weapon." Weapon? The cane. His cane. And with one call, Darius's peaceful morning turned into something he would never forget. Minutes later, sirens ripped through the quiet. Neighbors peeked from blinds. A child dropped her toy bike on the sidewalk as two squad cars screeched to a halt in front of Darius's home. Four officers spilled out. Their radios crackled. Hands hovered near holsters. "Sir, step off the porch. Hands where we can see them." Darius froze, cane in one hand, mug in the other. "Officers, what's this about?" "Step down now," one barked, voice sharp, eyes fixed not on Darius's face but on his cane. The mug slipped from his hand, shattering on the porch. Coffee bled across the wood. "I'm a veteran," Darius said calmly, raising his free hand. "This is just a cane. On the ground. Now." The voice was louder this time. Neighbors stepped out, phones already raised. And somewhere in that tense silence, Darius understood. This wasn't about proof. This was about power. As Darius moved slowly, carefully toward the steps, two officers rushed. One grabbed his arm, yanking it behind his back. The cane clattered to the ground. "Stop resisting," the officer barked. "I'm not resisting." Darius winced. His bad leg buckled under pressure. Pain shot through him. "Sir, please, my leg." But the officer shoved harder. Darius groaned. Maya, who had come running from inside the house, screamed. "Stop! That's my uncle. He's a veteran. That's his cane." She held up her phone, recording. Her small frame trembled, but her voice shook the air. The officer nearest her barked. "Step back, or you'll be detained too." The neighbors gasped. One whispered, "This is wrong." Another muttered, "All that for a cane?" But by then, the cuffs were already snapping around Darius's wrists. The patrol car was cold, the bars tight. Darius stared at his reflection in the divider glass, disbelief written in every line of his face. Sitting across from him, one officer sneered. "You match the description. Suspicious behavior. Possible weapon." "That was my cane," Darius replied, voice low but firm. "Do you hear yourself? I bled for this country. I fought for this flag. And you—" "Save it," the officer interrupted. "Tell it to the judge." The radio crackled with routine chatter. But beneath the static was something deeper. The sound of dignity being broken. Back on Maple Street, Maya's video had already hit the internet. Her caption read, "My uncle, a black veteran, arrested on his own porch for holding a cane." The cell smelled of sweat and rust. The buzzing light above flickered, casting shadows on chipped walls. Darius sat on the hard bench, wrists raw from the cuffs. His mind spun. He thought of Iraq, of sandstorms and ambushes, of comrades who never made it home. He thought of fighting enemies abroad, only to be treated as one at home. A guard slid a tray of food through the slot. Cold eggs, stale bread, But outside those walls, Brookhaven was boiling. Maya's video had gone viral overnight. Headlines read, Black veteran arrested for carrying cane. Profiled, shackled, silenced. Community leaders demanded answers. Civil rights groups organized. And slowly, what began as one false arrest was turning into something bigger, a reckoning. By day 3, the police station was surrounded. Dozens of voices, then hundreds. Signs waved. Cane is not equal to weapon. Justice for Darius. Veterans deserve better. Maya stood at the front, bullhorn in hand. Her voice cracked, but carried. My uncle risked his life for this country. And now, he's treated like a criminal for what? For being black? For carrying a cane? We demand justice. Chants rose. Let him go. Let him go. Inside, officers debated. Some argued to double down. Others fear the backlash. But one thing was certain. The world was watching. Family, do you see what happens when silence breaks? Do you see what happens when truth goes viral? If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button right now. Because stories like this are happening everywhere. And if we don't tell them, they'll stay buried. Subscribe so you never miss the truth. Finally, Darius stood before a judge. Shackled, limping, shoulders heavy. The prosecutor painted him as aggressive, non-compliant, suspicious. But Maya's video told a different story. Played on the courtroom screen, the footage silenced the room. Darius stood quietly as the judge leaned forward. This is an arrest without probable cause, the judge muttered. Maya's hand squeezed her uncle's. The community in the gallery nodded, hope flickering. But then, an unexpected twist. The prosecutor's voice rang out. Your Honor, while the arrest may be questioned, we have discovered outstanding finds and prior altercations in Mr. Johnson's record. We request further detention, pending investigation. Gasps filled the room. Darius's eyes widened. Maya whispered, This isn't about justice. It's about keeping you silent. That night, after court, Darius was led back to his cell. But something was different. The guard at the end of the hallway avoided his gaze. Another whispered into a phone. And then, in the silence of the cell, a folded note slid under his door. It read, You're not supposed to walk out of here. Be careful who you trust. Darius stared at the paper, heart pounding. His military instinct screamed. This wasn't paranoia. This was real. Somebody wanted him gone. But who? And why? As the chants outside grew louder, as Maya prepared for the next protest, Darius sat in that dim light, holding the note, knowing. This fight was only beginning. Family, did you see that? Did you feel that? What happens next for Darius? Who sent that note? And how deep does this go? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because part 2 will expose everything. And trust me, you do not want to miss it.